Hello, hello. Welcome back to Seldomly Often. I'm Daniel. Today we're talking fragrances, and there's a special guest with me today.
Marcelo is my name. I am the niche fragrance collector, and this is another episode of The Last Say.
Today's episode is all about a very special fragrance that I've acquired lately. I've been wearing a ton of it. It's a very, very strange, very difficult fragrance by the genius Alessandro Gualtieri. Today we're going to be talking about Rvevelium. Rvevelium is a beautiful, misunderstood fragrance. A lot of people think that it's a combination of past Gualtieri's work. I don't really agree. First of all, let's hear Marcelo's take on this one here.
Okay, so the difficult part about my dialogue here is that I'm totally biased. Gualtieri could sneeze into a bottle and give it some cool name, and I will most likely buy it and have it as part of my collection. Rvevelium is glorious as a fragrance to wear, as a statement maker, as a fragrance, and I find it's a little bit more masculine leaning. It has incredible presence. It has just, it's divine.
Marcelo, it's interesting that one of the first things you said is that it's a masculine fragrance. I do feel that in general, Gualtieri's stuff really transcends gender, really transcends age. Anyone can wear them because these are very much abstract. And given the fact that this was sort of inspired, at least from what I've read upon it, that this was inspired by his journey to the Amazon, where he got on some sort of a drug to really get awakening, to really find himself and to find his new self. This one here is very much tailored to awaken the user, awaken the customer, awaken them to their senses, to themselves, and to the world of fragrances as a whole. This is a very provocative sort of scent.
You know, I love this insight. I purposely stayed away from all marketing, and I purposely stayed away from all commentary. And normally I do love delving into that because I realize that that's part of what makes the fragrance and the storyline to it. This time around, I literally pushed it all away and just thought to myself, what is this fragrance really about? What's the storytelling behind it? So it's interesting that it's about awakening and opening yourself up to a different realm. That's what you're saying, yes?
Well, yes. I mean, this is it's a very stark, very bold fragrance. And it has various phases that are very distinct one from another. And I feel that this whole fragrance is all about having this wild ride, almost kind of like being on this drug. It doesn't necessarily resemble the drug per se, because, well, first of all, I've never tried any such drug. But it doesn't necessarily call you into this psychedelic state. It just constantly shifts around and constantly just keeps you on your toes. It's all about the eye on the bottle. It's really amazing. It just opens up so fresh, so surprising, so zingy, so effervescent, and so sharp. And then it just turns into something completely different, and then it changes once again in the deepest of dry down. What's your experience on this, though?
Dan, identical. So when I first, I did an unboxing live on Mate Talk, and the first expression was this, I called it an aggressive grapefruit, and almost like this grapefruit, you know, you're scratching the actual peel itself. It's actually somewhat stringent, in your face, very present. Then I've been wearing it more and more, and the next evolution, similar to what you said, these three stages, the next evolution is that very green, almost fresh cut grass. There's something very vibrant there. And then the final stage is this leathery animalic touch to it. It's wild to have these very clear, transitions or journey on this one fragrance.
Are you specifically like attaching any symbolism to these various stages, or are they just like transition stages of the fragrance itself? Because to me, it basically breaks down in this way. The first stage, as you said, is incredibly bright, very sour, very citrusy, very zingy, and that symbolizes the actual awakening, like the actual eye-opening, pupil dilating. I always say pupil dilating, but this one here really hits it on a different level. In the second stage, to me at least, it goes into this like earthy, vegetative, musky, very sharp thing. And to me, that is more about like an analysis of like maybe the birth of life. I really picture this plant coming out of the damp earth, not even slowly, almost like in a stop motion type of thing, like super fast. It's kind of like getting outside of the earth, and it's really, really just pushing outside. And the last stage, it brings me to this insanely smoky, metallic, almost meditative environment where I'm almost like outside of my body, you know? I'm like, it's an out-body experience, and I'm looking back and I'm like looking at my life and I'm looking at myself and I'm looking at the vegetation, just with a newfound appreciation of this whole thing. What are your takes on the symbolism of this fragrance?
You know, it's funny you should say, and just so the audience knows, okay, so here's my computer. I've got Daniel, we're actually talking live right now. I can hear him through the earpiece. And the whole purpose of this engagement is really to talk to passionate people about fragrances. Daniel is in Switzerland, I'm in Melbourne, Australia. And we're sharing a moment together that we haven't purposely rehearsed. So as we started to set up, I mentioned, Dan's like, what's the structure? And I'm like, bebop jazz, that's the structure. Let's just riff and see where it takes us. Now, everything you've just shared, Daniel, is on point with my experience. You mentioned about this fast motion, this stop motion plant emerging out of that's what I get. This is the absolute truth. So that first part is that very sharp grapefruit citrus, which is, and I love the way that, you know, the pupils are dilating, you're waking up and it's like, it literally grabs you by the throat. It sort of makes you aware that you've just sprayed this fragrance. But that next evolution is definitely that vegetal, and for me, it's the garden. You know, so the earth, the elements of that organic nature, but this plant emerging, this greenness. That last part I disagree. I go in a different direction, and that is because I know Gualtieri is all about. He talks about that the dark crevices of our body is where the soul lives. And so for me, because it does go into that animalic, leathery place, for me, it's the human now stepping forward. So it's him interpreting, or not interpreting, but him acknowledging that it's a human that now possesses this fragrance. And it's now, you know, that humanness is coming out, that more animalic nature of us, the muskiness of us that seems to come forward.
I really like that human experience you're talking about. The thing is that I'm not really getting much leather in here. And some people say that this resembles many other Gualtieri fragrances, as I said before. It has this facets of quoium, it has a little bit of facets of megamare. I don't really get quoium at all in here. I barely get any terroni. On my skin, this becomes insanely musky, as you said. Yes, it has this sweaty component, which is kind of resembling bergamasque in a way, but it's also extremely metallic, like a tinniness. It's like has this ring, and I do kind of associate this ring to this like bell, like a ritual bell, and that's why I'm talking about an out-body experience. I feel that this bell is kind of just like projecting you outside of your body, and you have this like foggy vision of the world, this new appreciation, this like, again, awakening. And then when you're back into your body, when this fades off and the wear experience is terminated, then you're just back into yourself and you're like, wow, this was really a cool trip. And this trip, in the psychedelic term, the way Gualtieri, I think, experienced it, is perfectly translated into this fragrance. I really like wearing it. And surprisingly enough, despite all this imagery, despite all this esotericism, it's really, really wearable in my opinion. It's super loud, by all means, but it's actually surprisingly wearable. It's surprisingly mass appealing and likable.
On my skin, I do get that leather. And I have said to some people, if quoium is too much for you, then Rvevelium is where you should be. So that leather piece does come, for me, through it on that dry down. I also find that it is extremely wearable. So for me, Bergam Musk is an extremely wearable fragrance. Yes, it has potency, and it definitely has the Alessandro, touch to it, but it's something that anybody can enjoy. And I find that Rvevelium is its companion in that regard. So, and I also find that summer or winter, so I've been wearing it in warm, Melbourne has been having some bizarre sort of heat and cold waves. So on warm days, beautiful fragrance to wear. Such a glorious summer fragrance to have on your body. But even in cold weather, it's absolutely beautiful. On that dry down, the more warmer, musky, leathery tones are fantastic for the wearer to experience.
Yeah, I absolutely agree that this is definitely multifaceted. It leaves so much room for interpretation, and this makes it so adaptable. When a fragrance is so abstract, and that's why I love so abstract fragrances, you can really just make it whatever you want. You just smell it and you're like associate it to whatever situation you are in. I definitely do feel that this leans a little bit more daytime as a utility aspect. It has that effervescence, waking up sort of feeling. Spraying this on in the morning will definitely kickstart your day. In the evening, you'll get to the evening because, as I said, this is absolutely nuclear. It's super long lasting. But in the evening, it kind of
Can I interrupt you?
Yeah.
24 hours.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. The longevity on this is absolutely insane, especially on clothes. If you get it on clothes, you're basically done for. You have to wash the clothes. But yeah, performance-wise, no issues whatsoever. You have to just kind of like embrace it for what it is. And this is true for most Gualtieri fragrances. They really have their own personality. You don't have to fight them. The worst way to experience Gualtieri fragrances if you're just resisting them, if you fight them. You have to let Gualtieri do his thing. You really have to let the fragrances evolve in your skin. And then you just make up whatever you want from them. It's really, really cool, and they create such a personal bond. That's why the brand is so loved and so admired.
Absolutely everything you just said, Daniel. If you're brand new to Gualtieri, I would say start here.
Interesting that you said start here. That is actually something that I might not agree with. Not because this is not a friendly fragrance whatsoever, because it's very, very sharp. It's very different. It's very aggressive.
Well, I'm not allowed to say anything more because Daniel has the last say on this one, but I disagree.
So I do appreciate that you said that it's friendly in a way, but it's very, very sharp. So my last say, and this is funny because again, we're trying to do this format about the last say, trying to find differences, but we actually agree on a lot of stuff. But my last say on this is that this is a little bit more of an intermediate level Gualtieri. You can approach things like, well, I would say Gualtieri. I'm talking about Gualtieri, not specifically Orto Parisi, because Gualtieri to me encompasses Nasomatto and Orto Parisi. They have a very strong intertwining connection with them. But start with something which is a little bit more single note, a little bit less requiring interpretation. And once you're okay with having yourself guided by the perfume and having yourself guided by Gualtieri, then you're probably ready to experience this fully. All right, thank you, Marcelo. This was super fun. I really like sharing your opinions. I really like sharing your vision. Who knows, this format might be going on. Who knows, we might be doing something else. I really feel that we have a connection with Marcelo. We really do share the passion for artistic vision and artistic experimentation and just execution in fragrances. Really amazing stuff. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Dan.